Hello and welcome to Outside In. My name is Steven. Today we're going to be looking at, thanks to Glen from Rui Deng, he had made it possible for me to receive a Rui Deng UM34C USB meter for testing and review. So thank you, Glen, for making that possible. Much appreciated. I love Rui Deng products. 100% just love their products. But I'm also going to be looking at two of the other USB meters from Rui Deng. Two of the meters that I have, the UM24s, I probably bought those about 6 or 7 years ago. I use them all the time. So we're going to be taking a look at that. I'm going to walk through the screens. I'm going to show you how this works. Anyone who has one of these and has a question, hopefully I can answer that question for you. So I guess there's no reason to waste any more of your time with this introduction. So let's just, why not, get right to it. And we will go to, it looks like, camera 1. So let's go there now. Okay, now this is the Rui Deng UM34C. This here is the Rui Deng UM25C. This is the Rui Deng UM24, but these two are even better than this, and you will see that. This one here, Glen from Rui Deng made it possible for me to receive this, to review it and test. This one here I purchased a week ago maybe for some other testing. There's going to be 2 more videos coming up using these to charge and discharge along with the Rui Deng USB load tester. Right now what we're going to do is we're going to turn these on and I'm going to show you how they work. Let's get these turned on in 3, 2, 1. This is the Rui Deng 25C, this is the UM34C, and this is the UM24. Okay, now the difference between this one and these two is that both of these have Bluetooth ability. There is a Android app that you can get that you can see all this information on your cell phone using the Bluetooth on both of these. And I will show you how to turn that on. This one here is not Bluetooth communication. First, let me unplug this one, and it has 2 buttons here. It has the micro USB input, it has a USB-C input, and it has a USB-C output. There's 2 buttons on the bottom, 2 buttons on the top, and you'll notice also that there is a switch that says off and on, and that is the switch right there. Okay, let's power this on now, and I will show you what the buttons are for. Now the switch that is right here for off and on, when you turn this on, see that blue light blinking? That is to turn on and to turn off the Bluetooth. Same thing with the UM34C. There is a on-off button here, so turn it on, and then you have the blue light flashes for Bluetooth connection. Turn it off so it's not annoying you. This also has a USB-C input, micro USB input. Now this one does not have a USB out like this one does. Also, you'll notice on the screen here, the UM24, it does have 3 decimal places. The UM34C also has 3 decimal places, but the UM25C has 4 decimal places, so higher resolution. You'll also notice the voltage on the blue one, the UM25C, has 3 digits. The voltage on the UM34C only has 2, and the UM24 only has 2 on the voltage as well. So what I would recommend, this is the better one, the blue UM25C. If you want higher resolution, definitely the blue one is the one to go with. Plus it also has USB-C output on it. Okay, so let's go through these menus. If you'll notice, right here it says previous and next. Previous, next. This one says help and next. Now, this one, the help button is down here on the 24. On the 34C, the help button is, you see that little question mark right there? That's the help button there. This one, the 25C, is the same. It has a question mark there. That means that's the help button there. All these little dots represent another screen of information. This is the first screen that shows you volts, amps. This is the milliamp hour rating for the session that we are currently doing. Okay, this is the milliwatt hour rating for the current session that we're on. See this 1 right here? This is a group. It has group 0 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. On group 0, This number is only remembered until you plug it back in and start another test. If it's on 0 and you start another test, when you plug this in and it says 0 here, these will flash, okay? And when you start charging something, this automatically resets both of these and start over again. If you have it set to where it is now, like it's on 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 6, whatever, up to 9, if I left it on 1 and I started capacity testing something right now, what it would do is it will continue where this last one left off and just keep ticking up in milliamp hour and milliwatt hour. So this is useful if you're doing like 4 cells and you're charging 1 cell at a time. You can leave it on group 1 or put it on group 2 or group 3 all the way up to group 9 for a specific series of tests. You can get 1 cell charged, and let's just say you have to unplug this and plug it back in before you have another cell available to test capacity on. If you leave it on the same group number, then when you start charging that cell, then it will add to that last one. So you can get a total rating of all 4 cells. If you don't really want to ever do that, which I very rarely do, I usually always leave this at 0, because every time I use this, it's just to get a new capacity reading. And so as long as you have it on 0, it'll always start at 0 once you start charging another battery. If you do not unplug this, then it will continue on with this number. So the only way to retain information after you've continued to charge another cell is you have to have this on a group 1 through 9. And the way that you move through the groups, it is quite cumbersome, Glen, so maybe that's even another suggestion. Now watch this. The next button here, if you press it and hold it, that number is going to change to 2. See? It changed. Now here's the problem with this that I had just several times already now that I'm actually using this. You have to cycle through all 9, because if you had another set of series of tests on group 1 and then the last series that you did was group 2 and then you want to recall group 1, you have to, this is very cumbersome. Press the button, hold it. Group 3, press the button and hold it. Group 4, press the button and hold it. Group 5, press the button and hold it. Group 6, press the button and hold it. Group 7, and you have to keep doing that all the way back to 1. That is very annoying. If you could make the previous button, because I'm sure I've tried this, but let's try it anyway. If you hold the previous button, see, it does nothing. It does not go to 6, which you would think it would. So Glen, use the previous button and hold it to be able to go backwards in these groups. That way you don't have to go all the way around back to where the one before you were at, this one. Because you have to do this 10 times. And holding that button in for 2 or 3 seconds each time. And if you're using the nap of your thumb, that could get quite painful. And if you don't have very big fingernails like I don't, it's kind of hard to push that button down when you don't have much of a fingernail. So it would be so much nicer if I could hold down the previous button and then it would go backwards. I could move forwards, move backwards. All of these, so far, what I'm doing work exactly the same. Now this screen on the UM25C and on the UM34C, this is a graphical representation of the volts and the amps as you're charging a cell phone or whatever you're charging and using this to see the data. The top scale is 5.27 volt. The lowest is 4.47. I believe each one of these is 100 milliamp. The UM24, the voltage is on one screen and the amps are on a second screen. Now again, with these screens, you can't go backwards. You have to go all the way back around again if you want to see the previous screen, which I wish that you guys could change that and make this a back button. Press and hold it to go back instead of having to go all the way back around again. This is another suggestion that I would have for the 34C and the 25C. I like this scale right here. It tells you what the voltage is on that line. These have no scale except the top number and the bottom number. You would have to count the sectors to know exactly what that voltage is. But here you can see right there, it's 5 volts. It's right there on the scale. I don't see why you can't put the scale on this one as well. So the last screen on the UM25C and the UM34C, let's hit the help button that it can tell us what the buttons are for. Okay, these two all seem to be the same always. Long press to rotate the screen left, long press to rotate the screen right. This button is to press to adjust to make changes. This button is to go into the settings for this page. So let's see. Let's hit the help button again up here to exit that help menu. And let's press and hold the next button. And as you just saw, this number was highlighted. That means we can now change it. To make the change, press the previous button. It says 1. Press it again for 2. And just keep pressing it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It goes up to 9 and then starts back to 0. Now what this is for is if you have this set on 1, then that means that after 1 minute, the screen goes black. It turns the display off. It doesn't stop what you're doing if you're charging something. It just turns the display off. If you have it set on 4, then in 4 minutes, it will turn the display off. So it's kind of sort of like a screensaver. To move to the next one in line, all we have to do is press the next button, but don't hold it, just press it. And that moves down to the brightness. We need to press the previous button to make the change. It goes up to 5. Okay, so that is 0 right there. That is the lowest setting for brightness. Then you just keep pressing it up to 5 to the brightness level you want on your screen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe you could add a couple little buttons here for up and down to make changes, to go up and down. I don't know. It's just an idea. All right, so let's press the next button to go down to the centigrade. Now this is degrees. So this is going to be degrees in Celsius. If you want to change that, press the previous button to Fahrenheit. Now it will read the temperature in Fahrenheit. Let's hit the button again, the next button to go down to the color. Now this color here, I'm almost positive is the colors for like the border and the buttons, but let's see. Press the previous button to change colors. Yeah. All right, let's just leave that one on black. I like that. Black background, white numbers. All right, let's go click next again to move down to the, I believe this is the font. So let's change some colors here. No, black font is not going to work with a black background. That's a nice color. Now, as long as we keep hitting next, it'll just keep going around and around and around and around. If you want to save your changes and exit the screen now, just hold down. You know what? Let me go back around. I want to change that color again. And then we need to change the font back to black. Right, there we go. Now we just press and hold the next button to exit out of that because we've made all of our changes that we want. The only difference between this one and these two is you only have 3 settings. You have your timeout for the screen to go black up to 9 minutes. The brightness level is 5, just like those. And it lets you change the temperature, Celsius or Fahrenheit. That's the only 3 settings you get with the UM24. You just get more adjustment with the UM34C and the UM25C. The group I have here set on 1. Now I don't want to change that back to 0, but if you go to hold the next button down to move through groups. Hold the next button down for like 2 to 3 seconds and it'll move to the next group. Now it's on group 2. 1, 2, 3. It moved to group 3. Press and hold. 1, 2, 3. It went to group 4. On either one of these 1 through 9 groups, if you want to reset that to 0, press and hold the help button and it resets to 0. On this one, the help button is lower left. Press it real quick and it tells you what these buttons are for. This button, you long press to rotate the screen left. Long press this button to rotate the screen right. Hold this button to go into settings for the screen that you're currently on and to adjust as well. So to exit the help menu, hit the help button again. Real quick. Now let's try the rotate function. Let's press and hold the left button on the top. Now it rotated the screen left. Now if you press and hold this button again, the top left one, it goes back to where it was. This button over here, if you press and hold it, rotates the screen right. Now what this is useful for is if you're in an orientation that you have to test a charge, and you're in this orientation, then that's what that is good for. It allows you to rotate to the orientation you have your USB meter. Now let's press and hold it again to go back. Now let's rotate this one on the left side, hold it down to rotate left. Now if I'm in this orientation, I can see everything. And now the help button is here. If we go back to the way we were, now the help button is here. Okay, so this is on the third screen. On the fourth screen, let's see the fourth screen. Let's see what the help on that one is. All of these screen, I think, both these top numbers are for rotation. Usually it's just these bottom buttons that change what they do depending on what screen you are. Now on these, the 34C and the 25C, the help button is up here. Where, see that question mark right there? Question mark up here? Question mark here, and this arrow I'm assuming means rotate right. This one means rotate left. Now also what these two have that this one does not, it has a screen off button, so you can turn the screen off in the fly and turn it right back on if you want, if you don't want to mess with the automatic turn off. Right here, this button right here on the top left, press it quickly, just press down and let go, and it turns the display off. Now, if you are charging something, it's not going to turn that off. It's going to keep calculating up. This is just to protect the screen, so you don't have it on all the time if you don't want it on all the time. And then press it again to turn it back on. The same one up here. Press this real quick, turn it off. Press that real quick to turn the screen back on. Again, this button over here is the help for these two. This button down here is help for the UM24. So let's see what the help is on this one. Now it should be the same. We're on the first screen. Long press to rotate left. The arrow indicates that up here to rotate left. Long press to rotate right. The arrow up here is showing that to go right. Long press to clear the group data. Long press to change the data group. Okay, let's press the help button to exit. Now, like I said, if you're in group 7, right now it's set at 0. Let's see if we can move to a group that has numbers other than 1 and 2. I don't want to delete those. Okay, 8 has nothing. 9 has nothing. 0. When you put it on 0, it starts flashing. And usually what happens is this will not stop flashing until you've plugged a load into this and you start charging something. This will automatically reset everything to 0 and then start clocking up for the current capacity test you're on. Group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is a continuation of the previous one until you actually physically reset it with this button right here. So we'll show you that right now. Even on group 0, I can reset this number if I want. So press and hold the previous button and it reverts to 0. It's flashing because you don't have anything plugged into this and charging it. Once you plug something in and start charging it, this will stop flashing, and if it has a number in it already, it'll reset to 0 and start clocking up. Same with this one. Okay, let's do this one down here. I wanted to show you using the Rui Deng USB load tester. I love these things. I use them a lot. All right, let's plug into this one. And it starts flashing 970. As long as this is flashing, then that means that it's not pulling anything. While this is on A, you can turn this potentiometer to adjust how many amps you want to pull. So you can go all the way down. It's right now at 9. We can go all the way down to 0. And then we can just start going up to, okay, 200, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 1. Let's try to get it right at 1 amp. Okay, now when we press the on button, which is right here on the right, when we press that, this is going to start drawing the 1 amp we have it set to from this power supply. Now, if this was a battery bank, this would be how you would test for capacity, because this is going to give you the capacity rating. This is going to be your load. Okay, and you can adjust 500 milliamp, 1 amp, 2 amp to do capacity testing. Okay, let's try it in the UM24. Now, oh yeah, this is a good thing to show you. See, this is flashing. Let's turn this down to 0. And then let's power it on. Okay, now we're powered on. All right, let's turn it to where it just says 4. Yeah, it seems to be 10 off. Maybe that's on the low end, or it's the UM24. We'll find out. Okay, we're gonna see how far this has to go before this will stop flashing and start counting. I think it's 100 milliamp, but we'll see. Nope, it stopped flashing already. So it must be around 50 milliamp or so. This starts counting up and resets to 0 as long as this group is on 0. Now, I can show you that. All I have to do is pull an amp. Let's set this up to 1 amp. And it seems like, yep, it's what I thought. When the number, right now it's at 640 milliamp. And this says 640. The lower side of this, it's seems to be 10 off on the milliamps, but I guess when you're down that low it doesn't really matter. What matters when you get up higher. So we're right now, let's see, 1 amp. Let's get, yeah, that's pretty close. That's good. So it's drawing 1 amp right now. This number is moving up 12. Okay, so I want to show you what happens when you stop charging, when you're on group 0 and you turn the power off or unplug it. Let's just unplug it. You've unplugged it. The next day you're going to go back and you're going to plug it back in, and it starts up UM24. It's flashing again. See, but there's the number, the milliamp hour from the last test that we did. But watch, when I turn this on, watch these numbers. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. It stopped flashing and it reset everything to 0 and started over again. All right, now let's show you what happens when you have it set on a group number other than 0. Let's go to 1. I don't want to mess with 1 because I need that information. Group 2, I don't want to mess with that one either because I need that information. Let's go to group 3. Okay, group 3 is right now at all zeros. If it wasn't, you could press and hold the help button down here to reset it to 0 if you want to start over a new series. Now we're going to turn on the power supply, or we're going to plug in and start charging something. Okay, now the watt hour and the amp hour starts counting up. But now we've lost power and we just charged our cell phone and we're on group 3. We turn it back on and look, we're still on group 3. We're still at the same milliamp hour. So now let's plug our phone in, or another phone, and start charging it. Now watch. See? It just continued right where it left off. That's how the groups work, 1 through 9. It's accumulative. Every time you come back to that group, like this group 3, it's going to continue counting up capacity. You would be saying, why would you need that? Well, if you're building a battery pack, like 4 lithium iron phosphate cells to make a 12-volt battery, and you want to test each cell individually, you just set this on a particular group, like say group 3. You charge up 1 cell, okay, and you probably maybe unplug this once the cell is charged. So now when you come back into the house and you plug this back in to charge the second cell, your last milliamp is still sitting there, waiting to continue on when you start charging the second cell. And then the numbers start ticking up. Once you've charged all 4 cells, now you have a total amp hour of all 4 of those cells and a watt hour of all 4 of those cells. That's what's great about these groups. But remember, if you have it set on group 1, every time you power this off and plug it back in, if we want to come back to 3 because we're done with our 4 cells and now we want to do another one and we don't really want to go to group 4, then all we have to do is hold down this button right here, the bottom left button, to reset those numbers to 0. And they're now reset to 0. All right, now if you're on group 0 and you start charging with this, it's going to stop flashing and start counting up. Okay, if you, let's let it get up a little bit. 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 28. So now it stopped at 28 milliwatt hours. If you pull the power, turn it off, and then push it back into the power, then it's going to come back to the 0 group that it's on. This is going to start flashing. This is flashing to let you know, hey, you better write this number down because I'm about ready to reset myself to 0 once you plug me into something and start charging it. So let's do that. We're now plugging back into another cell phone to charge, or the same one. And we're starting to charge, and this will set to 0, and back it starts counting. This will stop flashing and it just counts up. It starts over every single time. So I just set it to 2 amps so this will count up a little quicker, because I want this to get up to around 50 milliwatt hour, and then I want to turn it off there. Okay, right now it's at 52 milliwatt hour. So if we unplug this, plug it back in, it's flashing. It's still showing 54 milliwatt because it remembered our last reading. But it's flashing to let you know that when you start charging something, this is going to reset and start over again. So right now it's at 54. If we start charging something, yep, it started over again. But if we move this to a group number 1 through 9, then it will just continue where it left off. Let us go into screen number 2. If you're testing a data cable, you can see what the voltages are on the data positive and the data negative lines of a USB cable. This here is the mode for that cable that you're plugged into. This will automatically identify a device that you're plugged into that has fast charging mode. And at this time, the UM34C supports QC 2.0, QC 3.0, Apple 2.4 amp, 2.1 amp, and 1 amp, 0.5 amp. Okay, so just know also that this is for reference only, and it's because that cell phones upgrade quickly, so it can't be absolutely accurate. It just gives you a rough idea. Okay, so let us go to the next screen. Now, this is accumulated energy, and the time display is the total time that you've been testing something for capacity or charging something, as long as the power is on. As soon as you power it off, then you lose that information and this information. All right, on this screen, this number down here on the bottom is for when this is actually going to start, to where this will not start counting up until it gets above a set trigger. So in other words, once you press and hold the next button, it will highlight this number here so you can change that number. Once it's highlighted, to change this value, press the previous button and just press it to go to 16. Now 17, 18, 19, and 20. So that would be 200 milliamp. In other words, this will not start. Let's set this down to 0 so I can show you this in action. So we're down to 10 milliamp. If we activate our load, this record is red, which means it's not counting up because we haven't went above 200 milliamp. Once we go above 200 milliamp, then this will turn green, REC will turn green, and then this will start counting up. So it's right now set on 10 milliamp. Let's move this up, 2, 3, or 40 milliamp, 50, 60. We're at 100 milliamp right now. It's still red. So let's see, if it gets above 200 milliamp, then that's when it will start displaying information, start recording the data. Okay, so we just went past 200 milliamp. So that means now this is green and it's starting to count up. The clock is ticking and these numbers are going up. Okay, that's pretty awesome. Let's turn this off. Since we're already highlighted here, we can still make changes on the fly. Okay, so let's move this up to 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It goes up to 300 milliamp is as high as this will go. 0.3 is as high as you can go. So I guess they have the 0 there just for reference, so you know that it's 0.300. You just can't change it to 1 amp. This is just for the current session information only. And every time you power this off, turn it back on, this is always going to start over fresh, except for how you have this set. Let's hit the previous button to go. Now this is going to start over. Yeah, it started over at 0. Now that's why this record turned green, because I think even with this load off, because this flashing going on is pulling some power from this. So anything above 0 or above the low trigger, and this is the low trigger setting, and right now it's set at 0.00. So this is obviously pulling something. Even if it's 0.001 amps, this is going to go into the green mode and start counting up. Okay, if we set this by hitting the previous button to 10 milliamp, I think it's flashing because 10 milliamp is still a little bit too low. I think what's happening is every time this display comes on, it pulls more than that, and then when it goes off, it pulls less. So that's why this is blinking. So let's bump this up to 20 milliamp. Okay, so now we're set to 20 milliamp, and this is completely turned red now, because even with this flashing, when it comes on, it's actually pulling less than 20 milliamp. I mean, I hope you can see that in the camera, okay? But it's set on 20 milliamp. Since we're highlighted, let's press the previous button again to go up to 30 milliamp, okay? If you can see that, 30 milliamp now. So now if we turn this, the load is on, but it's setting at either anywhere between 10 and 20. But because of the low resolution on this, I don't know what it is actually. So we'll just turn this to where at least it shows 3. So we'll be above the low threshold trigger of 30, and then see if that record turns green. There it went. As soon as we hit above 30, it went green and started counting up. If you turn it off, then this will stop. Okay, when you're ready to start again, you just start your load up again, and then it goes back to continuing where it left off. So that's pretty cool. I like that. I really do. Now we're set at 30 milliamp. Let's press the next button and hold it to escape that setting. All right, let's go to back to screen 1. Okay, and let's reset this to 0 by pressing and holding the previous button. Okay, now we're at 0 and we're flashing. We're flashing because we're on group 0. It won't flash if it's on any other group other than 0. But because you're on group 0, it's flashing to let you know that I'm not going to remember any information from the previous session, so you better write this number down if you need to remember it. Because once you start charging again, I'm going to reset to 0 and I'm going to stop flashing. Okay, so the flashing is just, I think it's just a warning. So let's turn the load on, but we're going to change down to 20 milliamp. I'm changing it down to around 20 milliamp, below 30. Remember, we set the low trigger threshold to 30. Okay, so if we turn this load on, let's see if this does not actually start counting. Now, I don't know if that third page has anything to do with this, because I'm kind of thinking this doesn't reset to 0 and start counting up until it reaches 100. But let's try. Remember, we have the low trigger set to 30. So right now we're at 20. So let's set that to 30 and see if that causes this one to start counting. Okay, now we're over 30. Now the third page, we already know that one is already started. Okay, this has not stopped blinking yet. Now we know that the third page has nothing to do with this page and with this number right here. So let's move this up, see where we have to go before that stops flashing and starts counting up. It's saying that we're at 57. Okay, it started. Okay, so I'm not sure where this is starting. Let's see if we can figure out exactly where it needs to be before this will stop flashing and start counting up. Okay, it's still flashing. Oh, it started. So I don't know. It's around 58 milliamp or 59. So I would say that this starts counting up at around close to 60 milliamps. Okay, let's just unplug. Plug it back in. Now this one will work the same as this one. So everything I'm doing with this one, you can do with this one. It's the same thing. The UM24 will work as well. All right, so we're flashing that we've re-plugged in and start over. Okay, but like I said, if you're at group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, it will not flash because there is no need for a warning. Because what 1 through 9 does is just keep an accumulation every single time you do a new test. It's added to the previous number. Okay, so hopefully that explains that screen pretty well. Let's go to screen number 4. This is the data connection cable impedance measurement interface. This is the voltage of what we're plugged into, 5 volts. And let me try this. Put a load on this. Okay, if we turn our load on or plug into a cell phone to charge, now it's saying we're drawing 509 milliamp. Because we turned this load on, now it's drug this down to 4.69 volts. That's another thing that this is good for. When you put a load on what you're plugged into, is it going to draw the voltage down from where it was? These numbers right here is for this tester would be connected via a data connection cable, and it will give you the voltage and current values. That's what this is for. This here is the data connection cable resistance measurement for any cable that you're using, any power, a USB cord. This would give you an impedance measurement for that cord. If it's a big cord, if it's a small cord, you could use that to see what the impedance of the wires are inside that cord to know if you have a good one or not. Okay, so how to use this is you would first connect the USB tester directly to the power supply and adjust the appropriate load current. What they recommend is to set your load to 1 amp. They're saying you don't want to really pull more than 1 amp to run this test. It says to press and hold the next button to begin recording data. The indicator prompt will stop flashing. Let's get us a cable. We're going to do this and show you how it works. So we need a USB-C cable or a micro USB. We are directly plugged into the USB port that we want to use. Now we need to set our load to 1 amp. Or as close as I can get to it with this thing because it's so coarse. There we are, 1 amp. Press and hold the next button to begin recording data. Now this has stopped flashing. So now what it's asking us to do is to unplug this from the power supply, which in this case is this. Plug in a USB-C cable or a micro USB-C cable. We're going to plug into the USB in. All right, so let's plug it in. All right, so let's get our load. Let's press and hold the next button. If the screen turns black, it indicates that the voltage difference is too high and the tester will enter the 4-volt power down state. You can reduce the current and then restart. So you'd need to reduce the current and restart the test. So let's try this again. We're going to lower the current to, let's do it. Well, let's make it 700 milliamp. All right, now this is flashing because we have this meter plugged in directly into the USB port, so that's why this one is flashing. Okay, once we have our load set, this one I'm setting to 700 milliamp, turning it on, and then I'm going to press and hold this next button and now this one is going to start flashing because it's recorded the data on this one. So now what we need to do is unplug this and then plug the cable that we want to test into that same port, plug into the USB-C input. Okay, now let's start our load again and let's press and hold the next button to record that data. Okay, so it's showing 114 ohm and the resistance is still showing zeros. Unless there is no resistance on this cable. maybe this is just a really good cable. No resistance on it. Now this one is a smaller cable, about half the size, and it's micro USB. So let's try that one. Every time you want to do this test, you have to do both steps over. Okay, so let's turn it on. Okay, I have my load set to 700 milliamp. Okay, let's activate our load. We're pulling 698. Okay, press and hold the next button. Okay, now it's recorded the data for that. And now this one the line is flashing. It wants us to plug in the line now. So let's unplug this and let's plug our USB cord, micro USB. And this is the micro USB input on the top here. So now let's plug that into this. Okay. And now once that starts, let's activate our load again. Oh, wow. It's not going to do it because this cord is too small. Oh, okay. Let's see. All right, let's see. Where would we need to take this? Let's see. What if we took it down to 500 milliamp? All right, let's turn it on. Nope, it's still going out. All right, I guess we can just keep taking it down until it will actually not make the screen go black. But once the screen goes black, you have to start this over. But I just want to keep testing and how far I have to go down before it won't turn the screen black with that cable. All right, now it's working at 300 milliamp. We have to start this over again since the screen turned black. Let's plug it into the USB. To start this test, the first one has to be flashing. Let's power on our load of 300 milliamp. Now let's press the next button to record the information it needs for this first step and hold it, the next button. Now, once it's recorded the data that it needs, this one will start flashing, which is the line. It's asking to hook up the USB cord we want to test. And that is this cord. It's a micro USB cord. Let's plug it into the power source. Now let's plug it into the UM34C, power it up. Let's activate our load, 300 milliamp. And now let's press and hold the next button to record that information for the cable. All right, now we're showing 0.1 on resistance and 184 ohms. So that's interesting. This smaller wire is showing some resistance, but that thick one was showing no resistance. So I guess it told us which one is better. But I've watched a lot of videos on this, and a lot of people are saying that this isn't super accurate, and they don't claim in the manual either for Rui Deng. It's pretty much an approximation. It's not meant to be used for scientific data. This is just to give you a good indication of whether or not you have a good or a bad cable. It's not going to give you pinpoint accurate data. So this is just used for a general idea. So if you're having a problem with your cables, this is a pretty cool thing that you can do to see what the resistance, or very close to what the resistance may very well be, and your resistance may be super high on the cord that you're using, and why it is not working very well for your devices. So it might be an indication that it's a good time to get rid of it and buy something better. But as you saw, that other cable, much thicker than this one, was showing 0 on the resistance when I ran this test. So this is pretty cool. This is the one that actually I would recommend, because this gives you better options. I mean, as far as wattage, you can see up to 5 amps with this one. This one you can only see up to 4 amps, this one up to 3 amps. This one also is a higher resolution than this and this, but this has a higher resolution on voltage than either one of these two. So right there is enough for me to want the blue one over the yellow one. Now let's take a look so you can see the difference in price. So this is the UM34C. It registers from 4 to 24 volts and 0 up to 4 amps. That's the UM34C, the yellow one. And it also has Bluetooth capability, the C version. Now on Amazon, it is $25.09 as of the recording of this video. And you can also get it, and I will put links in the description, but you can also get it at AliExpress for $19.77 at the time of this recording. Next, we have the UM25C, the blue one that I showed in this video. It registers 4 volts to 24 volts and 0 to 5 amps. This also has Bluetooth by a little switch, which you already saw in this video. On Amazon, this one is $27.49. Now, this is also on AliExpress for $21.28. And then we have the UM24, the little green one. It registers 4.5 to 24 volts and 0 to 3 amps. I didn't find this on Amazon, but it is on AliExpress in their store, the Rui Deng official store. Okay, and I'm going to be putting, if I remember, a link to their store as well as these products in the description of this video. But the UM24 is $12.04 as of the time of this recording. Now, this doesn't do Bluetooth communication. This video was supposed to be about the UM34C. The reason I like the blue one better, and I'm glad I bought it for this test, I love the higher resolution. All right, so there you go. That was pretty awesome. This is absolutely the most I've ever used one of these. Now, these I've had for about 7 years. 2 of these, the green ones, and I use them all the time, almost every single day. Okay, now this is the one that Glen made it possible for me to get for free to test and review. Glen and I have been talking quite a bit over the past month he likes the detail that I put into videos. So he asked me if I would be willing to do some videos for him. And I'm like, yeah, of course, because I love electronics. I'm an electronics nut. If I would have known about this one, and I didn't know about this one, I needed another one. And I didn't want to get this one, buy it, because I didn't want to get it confused during the test that I have 2 videos coming up with this. So I wanted to get another one of these. So I wanted to keep this one separate. But then I saw this, the 25C, and I saw the incredible resolution this has, and you can read up to 5 amps with it, and I just love it. So I decided to get this one. It was only $2 more than this, so I went ahead and just got that one. But anyway, yeah, this was not intended to review all 3 of these, but I'm glad I did, because even though I love the green one and I really like the yellow one, thank you, Glen, for making it possible for me to get this. But you know what? I am so happy that I bought the blue one too, because this is my favorite, the UM25C by Rui Deng. This is the one, wow, it's only $2 more than the yellow one, so why not just get it? The yellow one and the blue one are both Bluetooth. See that flashing? The Bluetooth is on now. Bluetooth is off. The green one doesn't have Bluetooth, but these 2 do. I didn't want to stretch this video to make it really super long, so it's turned out way longer than I expected. If there is anything else that you need help with, all you have to do is ask in the comments. I would love to be able to help you. I love helping people. I love teaching people how to do things. I love learning how to do things and then pass that knowledge on to others. All right, I need to make a shout out here real quick to Bob Rooney. Bob, don't worry. I am working on your project as well. It's just that I was already into the UM34C, and it turned out to be way bigger than I ever expected it to. This is actually going to turn into 3 separate videos. This video here, and then the next video, I'm going to be using all of these meters with my 4th green one, UM24, and 4 load testers, 2 Rui Deng and 2 Drox. I'm testing 4 power banks, and I wanted to use all the Rui Deng USB meters and 2 USB load testers from Rui Deng and 2 from Drox to do the discharge test of the power banks. Then the next video after that one is going to be when I charge the batteries back up, and I will still be using these. So these are going to be in all 3 videos. In the next video coming up, there's going to be 2 Rui Dengs and 2 Drox load testers. Glen, it would be awesome if you could make one of these USB meters have 3 digits 0.000 on the display, a higher resolution. It would be so much nicer to be able to zero this in on something. I wanted you guys to know how to use this completely, so that's why I took some time to learn what I didn't know, and then I showed you to help you. So I hope that at least one person has gotten something from this video. I really would like to see another screen on here with bigger numbers for people that need glasses, you know. I'm not 20 anymore. In my mind I am, but my body says no. If you liked this video, please hit the like button, because YouTube, if you hit that like button, YouTube is going to show it to everybody who has an interest of this kind of technology. So the more people that hit the like button, the more that this video is going to get pushed out there by YouTube. If you like this content, if you would like to see more, if you have any ideas of what you would like to see me do, hit the subscribe button. Let me know, and I will create a video just for you. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, find someone that needs a reason to go on, and give them that reason. Find someone that needs to laugh and make them laugh. God bless each and every one of us, and I will see you in the next one.